Welcome to LCDC TV. Many of you would have read in the Daily Mail this weekend the LTDA calling for an inquiry into the lobbying by David Cameron and his special advisor Daniel Korski on behalf of Uber. The London Cab Drivers Club can reveal that after 5 years of investigation, Number 10's relationship with Uber is far more deeper and more sinister than the article in the Daily Mail suggests.
There's money changing hands, now or in the future, between Uber and their owners and the people making the political decisions.
Well, that was a pretty damning video by Mr. George Galloway, and anyone who's followed the whole story of Uber will know that he's not far wrong and that chickens are now coming home to roost. I'm here today in the studio joined by Mr. Danny O'Regan, who is LCDC committee member, but really importantly has led the charge for investigation over these last 5 years into Uber, the government and Transport for London, into the unlawfulness of Uber's licence to operate in London. We can't go through everything that we got. It's over 400 emails we've collected from FOI requests. So what we're looking to do today is just a very short breakdown of how the beginning started and how it's ended up. So Danny, thanks for coming in today. If you could just tell the viewers how this all started, please.
Well, back in late 2013, the LPHCA, which is the Private Hire Association, they commissioned law firm Clifford Chance. Now, Clifford Chance wrote to TfL. They raised various issues, allegations regard to Uber's operating model and lawfulness. I think you got them there, have you?
Yeah, and this investigation was by Clifford Chance?
Well, the investigation was by TfL.
Yeah.
It was Clifford Chance who raised the issues regarding Uber's operating model and various aspects with regard to the breaches of the 98 Act, etc.
Okay. I've got the list here. I'll be very brief, but it's a great list. 1. Uber drivers accepting private hire bookings without the operator's licence in breach of the 1998 Act. 2. Uber driver who does possess an operator's licence is accepting bookings other than an operating centre, breach of 1998 Act. 3. Uber vehicles equipped with taxi meters. 4. Uber are applying for hire without a hackney carriage licence, a breach of the Metropolitan Act 1869. 5. Uber by making provisions for the initiation of private hire bookings with an operator licence, 1998 Act breach. Number 6, Uber London Limited likely to be accepting private hire bookings than at an operator's centre, breach of the 1998 Act. 7, Uber London Limited is likely to be failing to keep a record of the prescribed particulars of each journey, breach of the 1998 Act. Uber London Limited is likely to be subcontracting with unlicensed operators, breach of the 1998 Act. Uber London Limited is likely to be providing unlicensed vehicles and drivers, breach of the 1998 Act. As you can see, that's quite a substantial list and massive ramifications for Uber going forwards in London.
Well, I mean, there's a couple that are quite relevant as we know from the model investigation and the refusal, specifically 1 and 2 in there.
Yeah.
As we'll talk about later. But on going with Clifford Chance there, they as we said, they wrote to TfL, and because of this was the catalyst. This was the start and what made TfL conduct an Uber model investigation. Now, this was in late 2013, as I stated. That model investigation concluded with the publication of this, which is the Uber model investigation. Now, the conclusion date on this is July 2014. So we're looking at a 7 months investigation into an Uber model.
Okay, 7 months, yeah.
We know from the emails we have, after Clifford Chance contacted TfL arranged a meeting with Uber London, and they raised the issues, the allegations. They asked them to explain, their model and run through their model. This was on the 19th of December 2013. Now, we know full well, due to this meeting, Joe Bertram, who was the general manager of Uber London at the time, went up the food chain to San Francisco, and this is the start of the involvement with government. Obviously, the hierarchy at Uber came. You can imagine the panic. You imagine the panic there. So, Corey Evans, who was Uber's head of public policy at Uber in San Francisco, initiated this chain. He wrote to Priya Guha, who was the British Consul General in San Francisco working for the Foreign and Commonwealth Office. She passed on his concerns to Samantha Evans, who was Vice Consul for UK Trade and Investment at the Foreign and Commonwealth Office. She, in turn, wrote to, and we get to the start of it, David Cameron's Special Advisor, Daniel Korski. And this is the start of the involvement with Number 10. Number 10 then obviously wrote to TfL, wrote to via the GLA, which we will explain in a minute. But one thing which really stands out, from the moment that Corey Evans wrote to the Foreign and Commonwealth Office, this was on the 3rd of January 2013, it went from her, as I say, to Samantha Evans, to Daniel Korski. Within hours, we're talking on the same day, within hours, Daniel Korski is making representation on behalf of Uber to the GLA, the Deputy Mayor Business, and the DFT.
Wow.
Within hours. That shows how the importance and powerful and the kind of backing Uber have within government at the time. Having received Samantha Evans' email, Daniel Korski fires off an email to
Julian Glover of the Department for Transport and Kit Malthouse, who was Deputy Mayor for Business and Enterprise under Boris Johnson.
That's right, yeah.
I'll quickly read it, it's quite important. Dear Julian and Kit, first off, Happy New Year, hope you had a good one. Could I ask you to take a look at a problem Uber seems to be facing with Transport for London? We are about to make a big pitch in Number 10 to make the UK a world leader in the sharing economy. And it would be a real shame if we let incumbents in various markets, outdated rules or old-fashioned thinking block our efforts to attract key firms to the UK and encourage homegrown companies. Not to say a bit embarrassing, given our late January sharing economy event in Number 10. So, I'd be really grateful if you could look into Uber's case and see what we might do. Thanks, Daniel.
Amazing, isn't it?
Unbelievable.
Outdated rules, what we might do. We're talking about an investigation into a minicab's lawfulness. You know, this could end up in the courts.
Yeah.
Had TfL found them non-compliant, this would have gone to the magistrate. What number 10 getting involved in an investigation into the lawfulness of a minicab company?
Unbelievable.
Firstly, we'll deal with Julian Glover's
Julian
email
Glover, Department for Transport.
who received obviously Korski's email. Julian Glover then in turn wrote to Pete Handy, as we all know.
Who was then the Commissioner of Transport for London.
Pete Handy replied to Julian Glover stating that TfL received a complaint about the business practice employed by Uber. He confirmed there was a model investigation underway, also stating that Garrett Emerson, who was the Chief Operating Officer of Surface Transport at the time, was due to meet Corey Evans, the guy who on the 10th of January 2014. So after Kim Maltese receives that email from Korski, he's not in charge of transport. His remit's not transport. No. His is in business, as we said. So he's forwarded the Korski email to Isabel Dedring, who's the Deputy Mayor for Transport under Boris.
I've got that. I've got this email where I'll read it. It's from Kit Malthouse to Isabel Dedring. Plea from number 10. Suspect the issue might be more complex than it seems, but can we chat next week? Better for us to sort than Department for Transport. Thanks, Kit Malthouse.
So, having received Kit Malthouse's email, Isabel Dedring, Deputy Mayor for Transport, contacts Garrett Edmondson.
Yeah.
And I think you've got...
I've got the email here. This is from Garrett Emerson, dated Tuesday, January the 14th. Hi Isabel, I can update more fully on Thursday, but I met with Corey Owens at our from Uber last week, and there is not really a substantive issue with their compliance. I appreciate that they are very good at lobbying in the highest circles, but I really don't think there is a need for meeting. Their licence is not in question. The meeting with them was very positive. The biggest problem we are going to have is with Steve Wright, the LPHCA and the rest of the private hire trade, who will be up in arms when we say that we have no problem in the way that Uber are operating. This is really all about competition within the industry, and indeed with the Hackney carriage, who Steve is also winding up. Uber are a big threat to them all. Shocking.
Amazing, yeah.
Shocking.
Absolutely amazing. What date's that?
14th of January.
January 2014.
Yeah.
And he's saying what? Their licence is
not in
question. 14th of January 2014. Uber operating model investigation. This note is submitted jointly by Garrett Emerson and Howard Carton, relates to the outcome of TfL's investigation into Uber's operating model. July 2nd, 2014.
That's 7 months later.
And he's giving guarantees that their licence is in question in January.
So after meeting Uber, the head, Corey Owens,
the one who initiated
got it all moving, got the ball rolling.
Got number 10 involved.
Yeah, within 2 or 3 days of meeting Uber, having a positive meeting, he tells Isabel the licence is not in question, but it takes 7 months for it to publish the documentation. So in 2-3 days he says it's okay, but it took Transport for London 7 months to tell everyone it's okay.
Well, that's indeed if that model investigation did complete then,
Yeah.
or they just went through the motions. No one knows, do they?
How can you have a thorough investigation on Uber's operating model in what, 2-3 days?
Well, it's but initially, it was just before Christmas, so we're talking about 2 weeks.
So,
Well, given the fact that there's a Christmas break and bank holidays, etc. So, I mean, we're looking at maybe two weeks into an investigation that worrying for government to get involved. But after 2 weeks, he's giving guarantees that their operating licence is not in question. Well, why don't you just ask how comprehensive was that investigation?
and has TfL got copies of the paperwork of the investigation that they should make public? Because if you've got a 7 months investigation, but you've come to your answer in 2 weeks,
Well, I mean,
you're going to have what, a sheet of paper?
There's two ways of looking at it. One, did they completed this model investigation? No one knows how comprehensive it is. Because we've only got Helen Chapman's witness statement in the refusal hearing in 2017 to say how comprehensive it was. But either way, either TfL complete a model investigation in little under 2 weeks, or given the Christmas period or whatever, or they're sitting on the findings of the investigation for 6 months. Why are they sitting on why publish in July if they completed and they knew full well that their model and that their licence and that they were compliant? It just don't make sense. So we move forward to 2017.
Yeah.
When all the protagonists have left. Korski's no longer special advisor to David Cameron because he's obviously left office at the time.
Osborne.
The senior officers at TfL have also gone. Subsequently, TfL refused Uber's operating licence. And as you know, Grant, one of the reasons for the refusal was highlighted by Clifford Chance back in 2013 with regard to Uber's bookings.
4 years ago.
Yeah.
Okay. I've got a bit of Ellen Chapman's statement she read in court about why TfL
One of the reasons for refusing their licence.
And I'll be as brief as I can. On 22nd of September 2017, TfL wrote to Uber London about its operating model. As TfL explained, it was minded to conclude that Uber London's business model did not comply with Section 2 of the 1998 Act. TfL was not satisfied that Uber London was accepting bookings at its licensed operating premises in London because A, Uber London does not accept bookings before assigning them to a driver. The bookings are accepted by the driver and the operating system then relays the acceptance back to the customer. B, in common sense terms, it is the driver, not Uber London, that accepts the booking.
Amazing. One thing what really stands out for me in Helen's witness statement, the first witness statement in the refusal, is that she's at great pains to distance herself and TfL from that original model investigation in 2014.
What, distance TfL from the TfL investigation?
Yeah, exactly. I think
I've got some here. This is from Helen Chapman's witness statement.
This is a witness statement, yeah.
Okay. Point 57. In the decision letter, TfL concluded that Uber London had supplied misleading and false information about the way in which bookings were accepted through the app. In particular, in correspondence in 2014, Uber London had provided a false picture to TfL of the order in which various steps take place when a booking is being accepted. the review of Uber London's operating model and the correspondence between TfL and Uber London in 2014 was conducted by TfL's then Chief Operating Officer, Garrett Emerson, and TfL's Deputy Director of Enforcement and On-Street Services, Sharon Hayward. I was not involved in the review and did not see the correspondence at that time. So it's
Not me,
Gov. I mean, how unbelievable that TfL, TPH are trying to distance themselves from an investigation by TfL,
Well,
TPH.
Clearly they're at pains to distance themselves, aren't they? There is something, what happened in that investigation?
Where's the paperwork?
Well,
surely they should disclose.
It raises so many questions.
Of course it does.
With the involvement with Number 10, with 2 weeks investigation into a supposedly 7 month investigation. Why,
And like you said, Dan, once Cameron and Osborne and Garrett and Korski had all left the picture, all of a sudden TfL were like-minded to say, it's not lawful. But for the last 3-4 years, it has been lawful.
Yeah, well, we were selling them, you've only got to read the badge for, 2-3 years. We've been selling them constantly that Uber's drivers accept the bookings. We highlighted the Toronto case, and there's a little known Edmonton case also.
Yeah.
They knew full well, TfL, that they were accepting the bookings. We will highlight it constantly at meetings as well. So, they did do a 180 as such, but, is it a coincidence they done an 180 when everyone had left? That lobbying, all that weight, what Number 10
had
put
applied
down
to the mayor and stuff.
Yeah.
And like I said, I'll never forget, and I'll say it and I'll say it again, it pains me to say it, when Boris said to me he'd had a call from David Cameron and he told Boris to leave Uber alone. And I remember attending a meeting at City Hall about the private hire regulations that was going to be brought into the private hire industry, about waiting times for private hire to take a job, pre-book, not ASAP bookings. There was a whole range that I remember sitting there and they just went, we're not minded to go along with that one. And it was literally no. And while everyone was around the table, I just started packing my stuff. And they said, where are you going, Mr. Davis? I said, well, I'm certainly not going to sit here anymore and have the mickey taken out of me even further, because it's obvious you're going to do nothing. And that's what's happened.
Well, that's in the article in the Daily Mail, the pressure TfL Number 10 put on with regard to them regulations. But I mean, one thing what stands out to me, they as they're at pains to try and distance themselves from that original investigation, Uber misled them. If you're Uber, you know full well that government are backing you, they're lobbying on your behalf, i.e. Korski, get in contact. Yeah. Remember this again, I'll go back to the fact that this is an investigation into their legality. They shouldn't be involved in any of that. You wouldn't, this could have ended up at court, like I said. It could have been a court case. And then what's government doing? But, if you're Uber and you're being asked to answer questions, well, maybe put your licence in jeopardy. But you know full well you've got government backing. You've been given a guarantee by a chief operating officer at TfL that you're not licensed in question. Why would you be open and transparent with your booking systems? Why would you give correct information, how the process and the time?
You don't need to.
Why would you?
Why would you? If Garrett Emerson says within 2 weeks, don't worry, everyththing's all right, you go, oh, that's fine. Why should I be open and transparent? It's in the bag.
I mean, Uber in themselves, in the refusal, said they admit they weren't open and they could have been more specific and transparent. Well, we know that. Why didn't TfL request that they were open and transparent?
Yeah,
You know,
exactly.
there's a whiff.
Oh,
And
big
you
time.
know,
And the trouble is, since this started 2013, 2014, both, you could say, the private hire trade and the taxi trade it's been a slow path
we've been
down and down. If TfL had done
yeah.
their job properly, they wouldn't have to rely on asking Uber, are you compliant? Because their investigations would have proven they wasn't compliant.
Well, I mean, it makes you laugh because also in Helen's chat, in the witness statement, words to the effect that we were duped because we're supposed to have this, you know, sort of honest relationship where a regulator asks someone that, you know, what we ask you tell us the correct answer. You know, we only know through you got to look at Uber's model, their MO, where they've used grey ball, avoid regulatory action, law enforcement, you know, and TfL knew this. They knew in grey ball. All right, it come later, but why they were just given a free rein. It's like you know, TfL have opened the door and patted them on the back on the way through.
There
you go. And you know, and so with government, and this proves, you know.
But it just shows you, in my opinion, TfL are guilty as charged of destroying the cab trade in London by allowing Uber such an open door passage into London's market.
With this today, it's clear that it's number 10, it's also Uber, and it's also TfL. They're all, they're all at blame, and we've seen the effects of what's happened.
Yeah, and from the cab trade's point of view, we need to see justice now over all this. Justice. They've decimated our industry by getting into London market on a nod and a wink and a pat on the back and who knows what else.
Yeah.
Listen to George Galloway's speech. I don't think I need to say anything more.
No, I mean, you're right, LTA have called for investigation, but specifically into the private hire rigs. It should go further and deeper than that.
I agree, Dan. Listen, thanks for coming in. I hope you find that informative. We're going to probably get links up where you can look at these emails if you want some more clarification and see what goes on. It's a long read, but a very important one, Dan. Thanks very much. Thanks for watching. If you like this video, please press the like button, subscribe, and more importantly, leave a comment. Thanks very much.